Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with another installment of both Shared Trait Spotlight and Starter versus Booster. So the reason we are combining the two is, well, with House of X, the Fast Forces was focused on X-Force, and the X-Force figures in this set mostly have a trait, the same trait, the Mutant CIA, which grants stealth as well as improved movement and improved targeting for ignores hindering terrain. Now, first and foremost, when the new rules hit with the Wonder Woman set next month, the improved movement part will mean nothing. Secondly, yes, it's the exact same as the espionage trait as well as a couple other traits that popped up in Captain America and the Avengers. But yeah, so let's talk about the background of the trait. So and X-Force in general. X-Force was, in the original X-Force, was a bastion of 90s comics. Plain and simple. It spun out, when the New Mutants ended, a month later, X-Force began, led by Cable, as well as, Cable, Domino, as well as a few of the former New Mutants, including Cannonball, Boom Boom. There were some members who joined right as New Mutants ended, Warpath and Shatterstar. Over time, other former New Mutants, such as Richter and Sunspot, would join the team, and others who really just weren't involved with the New Mutants at all would eventually join the team as well. After a while, the series eventually ended. The series was eventually rebooted format to where it was now about a group of celebrity mutants who were basically a team that was being followed by a mutant PR team that later became the Ecstatics. Then there were some additional X-Force revivals featuring the more well-known members of the team. However, during the Messiah Complex crossover, we got the first of the Wolverine-led X-Force teams. The team was initially put together by Cyclops to track down Cable, consisting of Wolverine, X-23, Warpath, Wolfsbane, Hepzibah, Caliban. Over the course of the event of Messiah Complex, Caliban was killed, and Hepzibah was injured. The team would eventually also add Archangel, Elixir, and the former Brotherhood member Vanisher to their roster, as well as Domino. But they were basically Cyclops' Black Ops team. After Second Coming, the team was, officially speaking, disbanded, and multiple members, in fact, during Second Coming, Vanisher was killed. Didn't last, but, he was. And the team was seemingly disbanded, but Wolverine put together a new team, whose adventures we followed in Uncanny X-Force that include himself, Deadpool, Archangel, Psylocke, and Phantomex. Then there were additional, in the aftermath of Avengers vs. X-Men, there were additional X-Force teams, including, I think there were at one point 2 X-Force titles going on at the same time. It was the second volume of Uncanny X-Force as well as Cable and X-Force. And now, in the Krakoan era, X-Force has been reimagined as being the Mutant CIA. Some of the characters involved in the book are part of the team not because of not for field work, but for gathering intelligence on threats to Krakoa. And then others, like Wolverine, obviously, and Kid Omega, to a degree, Jean Grey, Domino, they're there for field work. So, the Fast Forces. The Fast Forces had as per usual with the Fast Forces set, had 6 figures: Wolverine, Beast, Marvel Girl, Domino, Forge, and Sage. So for the starter versus booster segment, we'll be looking at them. We will be comparing we will be comparing the Fast Forces Wolverine to both the common booster Wolverine and the uncommon booster Wolverine, because it's the same sculpt and it is still Wolverine. So, anyway, speaking of Wolverine, that's what we're going to start with: the old Knucklehead. This is the Fast Forces version. Now, the sculpt on all three we're going to be looking at are the same. So, he comes in at either 75 or 50 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Force, X-Men, and Animal keywords. We have the Mutant CIA trait. Looking at his dial, it's at 75 points it's decently long. At 50 points it's still not bad, still quite respectable. On speed, we open up a special power, X-Force is a go, granting Wolverine charge as a free action if Wolverine occupies hindering terrain. Place him in a square of hindering terrain within 3 squares in line of fire. So kind of a watered down version of the old Out of the Shadows power from Justice League Batman. Then we get some mid-dial charge in it, back to the special power. Almost an entire dial of Blades Claw sets. I don't know why we have that one click near the end without Blades, but whatever. On defense, at the moment he has Indomitable, but that's soon to just be he has a defense symbol. Opened up with Toughness, which then gives way to Combat Reflexes, and then we get then on next to last click we have a special defense power. I think this one's still alive. It's a stop click and grants Impervious. And then we've got final click of Regeneration. On damage, we've got nothing until the last 2 clicks where he's got Battle Fury. Okay, alright. I actually wouldn't have minded seeing like a 15, 20 point dial that was just those last 2 clicks, but or maybe just the click before and the last 3 clicks. So, now moving on to the common. He comes in at 60 points. He's got the X-Men team ability as well as the Weapon X, X-Force, X-Men, Animal, and Assassin keywords. Mutant CIA trait remains. Now looking at his dial, we've got a special speed power, Weapon X Reject, which grants Charge or Flurry. Then we get a couple clicks of regular Charge, a couple clicks of regular Flurry. Attack-wise, we open up with some Precision Strike, followed by a few clicks of Blaze Claw's Fangs. On defense, we open up with Combat Reflexes, followed by Super Senses, followed by Regeneration. On damage, we open up with a long bout of Exploit Weakness, followed by a couple clicks of Battle Fury. Finally, we've got the uncommon Wolverine. Now, this Wolverine is from the Year 100 segments in Powers of 10. So he's actually a Horseman of Apocalypse. He comes in at either 100 points or 50 points. He's got the X-Men team ability, as well as the Horseman, X-Force, X-Men, and Future keywords. He also has improved movement in horse hindering terrain, and a trait, Adamantium-laced bones, and mutant healing factor, which grants him toughness. And when he says that he takes a maximum of 3 damage from attacks, and at the beginning of your turn, heal him a click. Okay, all right. Looking at his dial, we've got some charge and sidestep on speed. 2 charge, 1 sidestep. 2 charge, 1 sidestep, then 1 charge. On attack, we open up with a few clicks of precision, then we get a few clicks of blades, and back to precision. Defense, we open up with a couple clicks of Combat Reflexes, and the rest of the dial is all Super Senses. Damage-wise, we open up with Exploit and round things out with Battle Fury. No special powers, but to be perfectly honest, he kind of doesn't need. He's kind of the only thing I don't like is there's no flurry. All right. So next up, we've got Beast. One of the dumbest smart geniuses that I've ever seen, at least in comics. So, looking at the Fast Forces, Beast comes in at 50 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the Illuminati, X-Force, X-Men, Animal, and Scientist keywords. Then we've got 2 traits. First off is the Mutant CIA. Then we have 5 steps ahead. When an opposing character takes a free action, give Beast a planning token. As a free action, remove 2 planning tokens to remove an action token from a friendly character with the X-Men keyword. Okay, alright. Then looking at his dial, we've got sidestep, nothing on attack, toughness, and outwit on damage. Now, Beast also came with a pair of team-up cards, one of which I tend to use quite often, is X-Men one, this one here. The card is the same, it adds a 3rd trait, Team-Up, X-Men Theme Team. If 3 or more friendly characters with the X-Men keyword are on the map, Beast and adjacent characters have protected poison. Okay. Now that only applies to Fast Forces Beast, though. So now looking at his booster counterpart, he also comes in at 50 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Force, X-Men, and Scientist keywords. He also has improved movement, ignores elevated terrain, and the Mutant CIA trait. Looking at his dial, it's a bit deeper. We get some charge, then some sidestep. On defense, we got toughness, combat reflexes, and then super senses. On damage, we alternate for the first 4 clicks between leadership and perplex before rounding out to close combat expert at the very end. And I will admit, one complaint I do have with all 3 Wolverines, none of them have leadership. He is, at the very least, the team's field leader, and so he should have leadership. Anyway, moving on, though, we've got Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl, from the Fast Forces Marvel Girl, comes in at either 75 points or 50 points. It has the X-Men team ability as well as the Phoenix Force, Quiet Council, X-Force, and X-Men keywords. She has the CIA trait as well as another trait, as well as the Krakoan Revival trait, which we've gone over quite a bit. And in fact, we went over rather, I would say fairly well 2 weeks ago. Looking at her dial, we open up with a special speed power, Psychic Interrogation, which gives her mind control and sidestep. That then gives her a running shot. And then on attack, we open up with nothing, but she picks up Pulse Wave near the end. Got a full dial of energy deflection, and then some early dial enhancement. Okay, all right. Now her booster counterpart comes in at 80 points, has the X-Men team ability, as well as the Phoenix Force, Quiet Council, X-Force, X-Factor, X-Force, X-Men, Cosmic, and Ruler keywords. She also has improved targeting, ignores characters. Now, she does not have the Mutant CIA trait, which was kind of a surprise, to me at least. We have the Krakoan Revival trait. We've also got, well, actually that's the only trait she's got. Looking at her dial, we got a few clicks of running shot, followed by some sidestep. On attack, we alternate for the first 4 clicks between telekinesis and energy explosion before just ending up with energy explosion. On defense, we open up with initial deflection, followed by super senses. Then on damage, we alternate between the special power Psychic Backlash, which grants her outwit, and when a friendly character with the X-Men keyword is targeted by outwit, after resolutions, roll a d6. On a 4 through a 6, deal the opposing character that used outwit 1 penetrating damage. And she alternates between that and probability control. Okay. Next up, we've got Domino. Now, an interesting fact. I mentioned that Domino was a member of the original X-Force team. That's not 100% true. The intention was that she was. However, when series co-creator and artist Rob Liefeld left Marvel, certain things were changed. For example, the Domino that was a member of X-Force was actually revealed to be none other than the mutant shapeshifter and power copier Copycat, aka Vanessa Carlyle, aka Deadpool's girlfriend. And she had been hired to take the place of Domino, who had been captured by the arms dealer Tolliver, a former employer of both hers and Cable's, in a scheme to get back at Cable. After being rescued, she would eventually try to find X-Force and would eventually join the team herself. and she's been a character that's actually been a constant member of various lineups. I think the Ecstatics were one of the few where she wasn't a member of. Anyway, the Fast Forces version comes in at either 50 points or 25 points. Has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Force, X-Men, and Soldier keywords. We got the Mutant CIA trait. Then, looking at her dial, on speed, we open up with some charge, followed by basically a 2 charge, 1 sidestep, then 1 charge, 2 sidestep. On attack, you have a special power, Neuro Responsive Warband. It's not a branch. Free. Choose 1 power or ability to use this turn. Blaze Claw's Fangs, Precision Strike, Giant Reach 2. Okay. Then on defense, we've got Super Senses followed by Combat Reflexes. On damage, we have a special power for the first 4 clicks. It's like my luck is lesser somehow, like a rabbit foot with the fur worn off. Probability controlled, but only to reroll 1 die of an attack roll. Now, this is in clear reference to what Domino was going through the early issues of the current X-Force series. She had been on a secret mission into to South Korea, where she had been captured by the group now known as Xeno, who flayed her. I mean, they cut off sections of her skin to graft onto assassins to send into Krakoa. They also made a clone of her, whereas Domino has chalk white skin with the black eye patch, this clone had dark black skin with a white eye patch, basically. And while she was active, the real Domino was having issues with, well, her luck powers. Anyway, moving on to her booster counterpart. She comes in at 60 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Force, X-Men, Assassin, and Spy keyword. That's a nice one to have. We also have the Mutant CIA trait, and then looking at her dial, we've got some running shot followed by some sidestep. We have a special power plant-based Krakoan arm cannon. Free. Choose one. Energy explosion, incapacitate with 2 targets, or penetrating psychic blast. You then have that Domino can use that power this turn. Then we've got on defense, combat reflexes followed by super senses. On damage, we've got probability control followed by close combat expert. Okay, all right. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about the new X-Force is the fact that Forge was added to the lineup. Forge is a character that I find to be very interesting, and I think that there have been some neat takes on the character. In fact, to be perfectly honest, the ultimate version of the character was probably one of my favorite ultimate takes in the Ultimate Universe. But Forge is an intuitive inventor. Now, this was more something that was, at least the way that his Ultimate Universe counterpart described how his powers work. If you mention a device that doesn't exist, his brain will begin figuring out how to build it. But Forge's whole thing is that he's referred to also as the Maker. He makes things for the X-Men and various other allies. But yeah, in fact, his cybernetic arm and his cybernetic hand and leg, he built himself. He's also he's been in the middle of a love triangle, at least back in the 90s, between Mystique and Storm, whereas both of them were interested in him, not each other. Though I think him and Storm, I think he's just kind of trying to be his own man. Or at least, he's not bothering with either of them anymore. Though he has been making moves on Domino. Well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, the really neat thing with it is that his tech powers aren't just about, metal wiring and so forth. He can work with plant-based technology just as easily, just as well, and he's come up with some neat things like the war mitten that Domino wears was made by him. He's also made various devices for Krakoa, and especially for X-Force and himself, that utilize Krakoa's biotech, fluoronic technology. So, looking at the Fast Forces version, he comes in either 75 or 50 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Force X-Men armor and scientist keywords. He has the Mutant CIA trait. Looking at his dial, on speed we have a full run of the special power. I saved the best toys for myself, which grants him flight, plasticity, and sidestep. Okay. Nothing on attack. We open up with with invulnerability followed by toughness on defense. On damage, we open up with special power. If you're looking for toys and stuffed animals, you came to the wrong place. Unique modifier. Other friendly characters that are adjacent or have the X-Men keyword modify damage by +1. Okay. Then that gives way to range combat expert. But yeah, he actually build himself a plant mech, which is where the armor comes in, or a fluoronic tech mech, which he did use has put to good use on multiple occasions. So looking at his booster counterpart, he comes in at 60 points, and there's also a 30-point version of him that was uncommon. I completely forgot about until just now. But yeah, the costume's different. I'm not enthused with the 30-point version. So, the booster forge comes at 60 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the X-Factor, X-Force, X-Men, Mystical, Scientist, and Soldier keywords. He served in the totally not Vietnam War, but rather the Sian Kong conflict, alongside many other Marvel heroes such as Frank Castle, Mark Spector, Ben Grimm, Reed Richards. Yeah. It was initially the Vietnam. Actually, I don't think Reed Richards served. I don't know which war it was that Grimm and I think Grimm may have served in Sian Kong, but yeah. Anyway, rambling. Sorry. Anyway, looking at his dial, we get some sidestep followed by plasticity. On attack, we've got penetrating psychic blast followed by precision strike. Defense, we get a couple clicks of toughness. On damage, we have a full run of the special power Technopath. Perplex. When Forge uses it to target another character that shares 2 or more keywords with him, he may modify the chosen value except damage by +2 instead. Okay, that's friggin' good. That's another reason why I didn't really bother grabbing the other one. Finally, we've got Sage. Sage is kind of a more recent addition to the X-Men mythos compared to the other 5 on the team. I say kind of because technically she did appear way back in the 80s initially, but she was, as Tessa, she was Sebastian Shaw's personal assistant within the Hellfire Club. I think Extreme X-Men would later reveal that she was in fact she was actually a spy in the Hellfire Club for Professor X. Anyway, so the Fast Forces Sage comes in at 50 points, has the X-Men team ability as well as the Exiles, Hellfire Club, X-Force, X-Men, and Scientist keywords. We have the 2 traits, Mutant CIA, as well as monitoring worldwide for anti-mutant activities. During each opponent's turn, their force can't use the following powers more than once each: Outwit, Perplex, and Probability Control, meaning they can only use each one once. Looking at her dial, it's rather short. We get Sidestep, then Mind Control, back to Sidestep. We get a full run of Super Senses, then Outwit, Perplex, and back to Outwit. That's Fast Forces Sage. Booster Sage comes in at 40 points as the X-Men team ability, as well as the X-Force and X-Men keywords, Mutant CIA trait. Looking at her dial, though, we get some Sidestep, we get a click of Telekinesis, we get a couple clicks of Willpower to start with on defense, followed by Super Senses. Then we get a full run of the special power, Team Logistics and Coordination, which grants her leadership and Outwit. Okay, so as we usually do with a starter versus booster video, or booster, yeah, starter versus booster. try to build a team with the figures from the starter and their booster or their booster counterparts. So from the fast forces, we will definitely be using Beast. Then so I'll be using Beast, so that's 50 points. Sage makes for 90 points. Then we've got 120 with Domino and Forge. 120 plus 90, that's going to be... Or actually, hell, you know what? We got, okay, so we got Beast for 50 points, Sage for 40 points. Then we get 200 points for Marvel Girls, Domino, and Forge, the booster versions of the last four. So that puts us at 290. And get us close to 4, the Uncommon Wolverine. Even 100 points. And then for those last 10 points, probably the Octopus Arms, which we'll likely put on Wolverine. So yeah. Anyway, looking at the trait itself, we've got some additional... there are only 3 other figures with the trait. First off, we've got Psylocke, who is not a part of the current X-Force lineup. This is the Betsy Braddock Psylocke, not the Quenon Psylocke. So Betsy comes in at 50 points, has the X-Men team ability, as well as the Brotherhood of Mutants, the Hand, X-Force, X-Men, Assassin, and Martial Artist keywords. We've got 2 traits, Mutant CIA and Psychic Mind Blade. Blaze Claw's Fangs, when she hits with a close attack after resolution, she can use Mind Control at no cost. Okay. Now, that has been errated. She can only do that once per turn now. The way it's worded, it does read as though you just keep going with it. And I've seen that occur. So, yeah, anyway. Looking at her dial, we open up with a few clicks of charge, followed by a few clicks of sidestep. Sadly, nothing on attack, but she does have Blaze Claw's Fangs via her trait. We open up Willpower on defense, followed by some combat reflexes, and then back to Willpower. On damage, we open up with Empower, followed by Enhancement, which is always a nice combination to see. Anyway, got Psylocke. Next up, we've got Kid Omega, Quentin Quire. Member of the X-Force that I kind of love to hate. I love him as a character. He's growing. He is growing on me, and has been since Kelly Thompson's Avengers West Coast run. But yeah, or West Coast event. Oh, yeah, it was West Coast Avengers, not Avengers West Coast. But yeah, he's been growing on me since the Kelly Thompson's West Coast Avengers run, and he's an enjoyable asshole, simply put. Anyway, Quentin comes in at 65 points. He has the Avengers, Phoenix Force, X-Force, and X-Men keywords. We got 2 traits, Mutant CIA, obviously, and Omega Level Telepath, which grants him mind control, as well as improved targeting in order to elevated terrain and characters for the use of mind control. Looking at his dial, we get a couple of sidestep, that's a couple of running shots, and back to sidestep. On attack, we open up with Precision Strike, which gives way to Penetrating Psychic Blast. On defense, we open up with Willpower, which then gives way to the special defense power, You Want to Get Nasty, which is a stop click, and also grants super senses. He then gets regular super senses for last few clicks. Finally, on damage, we have a couple clicks of Shape Change. Okay, alright. For 65 points, he's not bad. Moving on, we've got good old Black Tom Cassidy, the Juggernaut's BFF. Banshee's brother, if I remember correctly. Black Tom also comes in at 65 points. He has he has no team ability. He has the Brotherhood of Mutants keyword as well as the X-Force and X-Men team, or Brotherhood of Mutants as well as X-Force and X-Men keywords. Mutant CIA trait as well as another trait at 1 with the island. Shape change, but only if Black Tom occupies hindering terrain. he had a secondary mutation which grants him a degree of plant control. So he and Krakoa are able to communicate with one another on a not in the same way that Cypher can. But he is aware of everything happening on the island at all, especially at all times, especially when he's on the island. Anyways, looking at Tom's dial, we open up with the special speed power Krakoan defense system. Sidestep. As a free action, if Black Tom occupies hindering terrain, place Black Tom in a square of hindering terrain within 5 squares. Note that it does not have to be within line of fire. We then get a couple clicks of plasticity. On attack, we open up with Smoke Cloud, followed by Poison. On defense, we open up with Invincible, followed by Toughness. On damage, we open up with Exploit Weakness, which is then followed by Close Combat Expert. Okay, alright. So, however, but yeah, those are the figures that have the Mutant CIA trait, with the exception of the Booster Marvel Girl who doesn't. So, the Ultimate X-Force lineup. Now, for the booster one, yes, we would also be using, in conjunction with Beast, the team up, the X-Men Teen Team Up card. So, we'll definitely be using Beast and Sage. Or basically, the only Fast Forces one we're using is Beast. Domino, Forge, Wolverine, then Elixir, now looking at it, taking a quick look at Elixir's dial. Well, first, there's Elixir. Even though we've got Krakoan Revival, having a healer is always a good thing, especially when a healer has as high stats as Elixir does. Elixir comes in at 40 points, has the X-Men team ability, as well as the Hellfire Club, New Mutants, the 5, X-Force and X-Men keywords. You get a trait, the 5, Elixir. When a friendly character is chosen for the Krakoan Revival trait, after resolutions, heal each character adjacent to them 1 click. Okay. Looking at his dial, we get some Sidestep, followed by Stealth. On defense, we got Invincible, followed by Regeneration. On damage, we open up a special power, Omega level Healing. Support, but Elixir and his target may be adjacent to opposing characters. When a friendly character uses the X-Men team ability, increase the D6 result by 2. That then gives way to Exploit Weakness and a 4 damage. Okay, alright. So yeah, then we've got, after Elixir, we got Sage. Then we've got X-23 from the Uncommon from the Fantastic Four set. X-23 comes in at 50 points, has the Team Player Wildcard ability, as well as the all-new X-Men, Fantastic Four, Weapon X, X-Force, X-Men, and Detective keywords. She also has improved movement, ignores hindering terrain. 0 range, so the improved targeting isn't really going to do anything. 2 traits, Circle of 4, if she hasn't been moved or placed this turn, tag damage +1. And Healing Factor, Toughness, at the beginning of your turn, if she has 2 action tokens, heal her 1 click. Looking at her dial, we get some Charge, then a couple clicks of a special speed power, Hunter and Tracker, which grants her Flurry, Sidestep, and Stealth. Then back to Charge, and then Sidestep at the very end. On damage, on attack, we open up with Blades, Claws, Fangs, and Precision, then back to Blades. Defense, we open up with Super Senses, followed by Combat Reflexes, back to Super Senses, and then we finish it off with more Combat Reflexes. Damage-wise, we open up with Exploit Weakness, getting a couple clicks of Empower, back to Exploit Weakness, and we finish up with a click of Battle Fury. Okay, alright. See, then we've got Beast. Then we got Beast, the Fast Forces one. Then we've got Psylocke, who we just looked at. Then we've got Bishop. Bishop is part of one of the post Avengers vs. X-Men versions of the of X-Force. It was part of his redemption arc, if I remember correctly, for his actions during the Messiah trilogy. Seeing as how he tried to, he tried to literally murder a newborn baby. I'm not joking. So Bishop comes in at 60 points. He's got the X-Men team ability, as well as the Hellfire Club, Marauders, X-Force, X-Men, Detective, Future, and Police keywords. We got 2 traits: Absorb Energy, ends up being the first. When he's started by a range attack, after resolutions, heal him 1 click and remove an action token from him. Second one, Death and Disappearance Investigations. When a standard friendly character with the X-Men keyword is KO'd, Bishop can use probability control until the end of your next turn. Okay, alright. That's actually very useful because, well, you have to hope that the KO doesn't coincide with the end of your opponent's turn. That way, you can constantly do, that way, hey, you've got prop for your opponent's turn and as well as for your next turn. Looking at his dial, we open up with some running shot followed by some sidestep, a couple of clicks of penetrating blast on attack. We get some toughness followed by super senses on defense, and then a couple of clicks about wit on damage. Okay, all right. Then next up we've got next up is Forge, who we've already looked at. Then Wolverine, the common booster Wolverine, whom we've already looked at as well. Then Domino, again the booster version. We've already looked at her. Then Kid Omega, Black Tom, and the booster Marvel Girl. So we get quite a bit of protection from certain things an opponent might throw. We've got multiple probability controls. Some which are are conditional like Bishop, some which are later on, which aren't top loaded like Marvel Girl, and some that are top loaded like Domino and Sage. We've only got, sadly, only one character with leadership in the form of Sage. So I don't think any of the others have leadership, sadly. Yeah. But this is a 80, 230 plus 240. $230 plus 470, 600. So this is an 800 points. It's 20 points shy of 800 points. So what to do with those extra 20 points? Well, one thought would definitely be maybe a couple Infinity Gems, Soul Gem for some Steel Energy on either Wolverine or X-23 to really kind of drive home that the healing. Then, or maybe perhaps the power gem on one of your attackers. Domino would actually be pretty good with the power gem. I mean, yeah, it would be kind of redundant that she does have late dial close combat expert, but hey, she also ends up with dealing 4 damage 5 on her first click. On her first couple of she have a 12 attack. So yeah, you know, I mean, but yeah, there are definitely some options. Hell, even the octopus arms to give like maybe Psylocke flurry or give Wolverine more flurry. But yeah, anyway, that's it for now. Let me know what you thought of the two teams. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.